Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to a new episode on how to analyze any chart from scratch without using any indicators, just by applying basic price action concepts and market structure 101. If you aren't familiar with the series, I'll make sure to include the playlist, which includes all the videos by order, in the description below. And feel free to request any instrument for the next episode in the comment section of any video. Today we have episode number 12, which is USD/JPY forex pair. So let's get started, and as usual, cheers. We also already know we always start from the weekly and daily time frames to know where we stand in the market, which are our rejection time frames. Are we overall bearish, bullish, or stuck inside a range, just like this particular example? Yes, it's a straightforward and easy example, but I had to do it since you guys requested it. Once you know we are in the market, we'll be looking for sell setups around the resistance area. It can be a non-horizontal or horizontal resistance, and buy setups around the support area or the lower bound, which what we call, it can be also horizontal or non-horizontal. So let's read everything and let's apply the same logic on our chart. So how to do it? We draw a random on our chart and drag and drop it in a way to connect at least, I forgot to read these ones, to connect at least 3 swings, and we need the swings to be big and where the price rejected like for a long period of time, and not just like a small wick, just like this one, for example, right? So this is not a rejection, this is an entire swing. So even though we had 2 wicks here, we only consider it as one full swing. So this is one, and if we can look, we can also connect this one here, right? So this is actually a strong support and resistance area, and we also have this one. So this is a strong support and resistance. Anyway, we will check it out in a bit. So we can only connect one here, so it's not that strong. And the reason why I didn't zoom out, we always start from the zoomed out picture and then zoom in, because as mentioned before, it's a straightforward one. It's very simple, and we don't need to start from the zoomed out picture as everything is clear from zoomed in picture. So I thought that I would start immediately from the zoomed in one, so to make the video smaller. So this is basically it. We drag and drop it in a way to connect as many swings as possible, and we can clearly see a very, very strong one around this area, right? Many rejections from it, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's actually a strong one. So let's keep it, and it's around like 114.5 or 115, right? So it's an entire zone. I always like to draw it like this as an upper bound and lower bound to cover these rejections, these wicks. And let's move forward. Now I'll be using the green one, right, immediately. And this is it. I can stop here. We've got many rejections from it already, right? So we've got one here, here, and we had this small one previously, and we also had this one here. So it's also a very strong one around 112, I guess. Yes, let's do it 112. This is it, right? And also it's an entire zone, so we had to do it like this to cover the previous swings. So you have 2 options. You can draw it as an actual zone like this, but for those who already know me, I don't like to draw it as a big zone, as it would be annoying on lower time frames, as the zone would be very big. I like to draw it as 2 separate levels, but it's an entire zone, right? So it's not like 2 separate resistance. It's the same resistance, but it's actually, this is its upper bound and lower bound. And of course, it can be higher or lower. It doesn't really matter because we are not going to trade it to the point. Okay, it's just as an overall bias of where we currently are in the market. Let's continue anyway. So we've got one here, right? Many rejections from it. 1, 2, 3, 4, a small one here, and the price also lately respected it. So let's also make an upper bound and lower bound for it. So this is it, as you can see, covering the previous rejections here, and here as well. So let's do like, I don't know, 108. Here we go. 108 and 109. Anyway, you've got the idea. It doesn't really matter where exactly, but let's do it like this. And I'll make this one in blue since we have blue, green, and now let's go for blue. And next, let's move forward. I'll make this one in green, right? Here we go. And actually, this is also a very strong one. Many rejections from it, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and he price like broke a little bit below it. So around 104.5, something like that. We can make it a little bit higher and a little bit lower to cover these rejections here. So blue, green. Now let's do this one, which is a very strong demand area. As you can see, the price also respected it around this area, a very big wick, and then we had an immediate shift in momentum from it. And it's actually why it's also a very strong round number 100. So inside this picture here, inside these ones, the 100 and 150 are the strongest one, and we can't really actually see the 150 and 125, which is, it happens to be also around this area here, is also a very strong one. Anyway, let's not draw it as we don't really need it for now. So this is it for now, and let's make this one in yes, in purple. I was like trying to do it in blue, but it's okay. So this is actually it from weekly time frame. Now let's zoom into daily time frame. And before we zoom into daily time frame, let's try to draw like non-horizontal supply and resistance to know where we currently are in the market. I usually like to use the brown color for the higher time frames. And if you check the latest price action, I don't know if you can see it, but we can draw this one here, right? Which was a falling one, and you can also start from here. Let's say here we go, right? So this channel or this trend line, and which is also a channel like this, which is better if you draw it as a wedge pattern like this to connect as many swings as possible. So always try to connect like the outer, what I call the outer trend lines, which engulfs the overall movement. So this is actually it, acting as a big wedge pattern. So we had this trend line previously, so we could look for buy stops here, and this one was acting as a non-horizontal resistance. We also had a resistance here, so this one was actually a very strong area to look for sell setups, as we had the intersection of this non-horizontal resistance and this horizontal one in green. So we're looking for sell here. Anyway, let's focus on the current price action. I always like to like post a video about what's going to happen, and because obviously anyone can like go in the past and find a perfect setup and then share it with you. It would look so easy, but in fact when you are going to apply it live, it is not that easy. And anyway, they would pick like one of the best setups. For example, like they had 10 setups that are not very clean or clear, and then they pick only one and show it to you. So then you try to apply it, and then you wouldn't be able to. So you start like doubting yourself that you are not good enough to apply it, while in fact that the setup or the entire strategy is not that like consistent, or the rules aren't very clean as they showed you. So that's why I always like to like, if you go and check all my videos, they are also about like actual analysis, live market conditions, and for live practical learning. Okay, so that's basically it. The price broke this resistance area and this brown trend line, so it's no longer acting as a non-horizontal resistance. In fact, this resistance and this trend line now became support, and we were looking for buy here on the retest. Anyway, the price is currently approaching this resistance area, so we'll be looking for what? Obviously for sell setups, unless, just like here, the price decides to break it upward. Then on the retest, we'll be looking for buy setups, and our next resistance would become what? The 115 around this zone, right? So long story short, now around a resistance area, we'll be looking for sell setups, then buy here, or if price makes it upward, buy setups and then sell setups on the retest. Okay, of course we'll be looking for sell setups and buy setups. We will not buy immediately. So now let's zoom into our time frames and actually look for sell setups, about what we would be waiting for to look for these sell setups. If you zoom into daily time frame, which we actually also saw it from weekly time frame, we also have this rising channel now, right, which is also happens to be like a wedge. So we have this falling wedge, a giant one, and now the price is forming this rising wedge, which is a rising, a small rising wedge. So let's make this one actually blue. No, since we have blue, let's make it an orange, right? So here we go. So now this is from the medium-term perspective. From the long-term perspective, we already saw it from weekly time frame. For this one, here we go. The price is currently trading inside this range in the shape of a rising channel or rising wedge, and the price is currently approaching this area. So we've got this rejection here, here, and we're expecting also a rejection from here to here. Of course, we are still looking. Nothing is confirmed yet, as the buyers are still in control for now. So we had this impulse correction, and maybe would have this next impulse breaking above the resistance. In this case, this resistance would become support, and we'll be looking for buy setups on the retest. But since it's approaching a resistance, we'll be looking for sell setups. You know what? I'll take a little break and cheers. So this is it. Now I want to see this one on lower time frames. Let's see if it's visible. Yes, it is. Fantastic. Now, if we zoom into H1 time frame, let me zoom out. We can see that at the current price action, as mentioned before, we had a big impulse movement correction, and the price is currently retesting this area. And it's an entire resistance area, so we're looking for some setups, knowing that the price can dive in inside this area before going down, or even break a little bit higher before going down, because it's an entire resistance, and maybe we could draw it like this, a resistance. So for it to be broken, it has to be like broken in an aggressive manner for the price to break every possible resistance area, right? So that's why a resistance is not a laser level, it's an entire zone. So it doesn't really matter how you draw it, as long as you know that we've got a resistance around this zone. So that's basically it. If you zoom in, we can see that the price is currently forming a trend line. It's still forming, nothing is confirmed yet also, because price is overall bullish. Here we go. And we can make it a little bit lower. So it's trading inside this channel. So as you can see, we've got a wedge from bigger time frame, broken upward. Then we have this one from daily time frame. That's how you put all the pieces together to know exactly what you are looking for and why. Okay, and trading is reactive, not predictive. So don't try like to pick the exact bottom and top. Wait for the market to make the first move and then react accordingly. Okay, so we've got this channel here forming, and for it to be valid, if you have watched like the previous videos about how to draw a trend line, we need to have 3 swings to form around it for it to become valid. And then we'll be selling on this last swing low breakdown, which is as per market structure. If the last low is broken downward, we would have a potential shift in momentum from bullish to bearish, right? So we're integrating this market structure technique with our trading style. So we're waiting for this, and as usual, for those who have been following me on, for example, Twitter or TradingView, they already know that we highlight this one as our trigger, and when the sell is activated, of course, the price like can form a different price action, can, for example, form a new swing low here, or price can go like this and form a swing low here. We can't really know. It's just like an idea, a projection about what I'll be waiting for. It's not just like I'm sure that the price would form an exact high around here, right? Nothing is certain, as mentioned before and many times. So here's our trigger. And when the sell is activated, let's say the trigger is here, and let's say the high is here. The stop loss would be just above, a little bit above the last high, and we target a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around this area. That's it. And meanwhile, until the sell is activated, USD/JPY would be overall bullish and can still trade higher, right, inside this resistance before activating the sell, or can still trade higher, break the resistance for it to become support. In this case, we'll be looking for buy instead of the sell. And of course, if the sell is activated, then around the support area, we'll be looking for buy setups. If this one is broken downward, then let me fix it. Then the next support would be around this support here, around this blue zone here, where we're looking for buy setups. So long story short, as long as USD/JPY is trading around the upper bound, which I call the upper bound, which is the upper orange and green resistance, will be looking for sell. And as price approaches this area, we will no longer look for sell setups, as the edge or the odds to be in our favor would be to look for buy setups only. We're looking for buy starting from here. If broken downward, we also have the brown trend line from weekly, which was broken upward, and this support area. That's it for you as JPY, and feel free to request any instrument in the comment section below for episode number 13. And I'll see you on the next one.